Hey guys, it's Robin, RsIslandCrafts, and welcome to my craft room. This week's video is going to be a little bit different, but still about the same as some of my other ones. I told you last week that I was going to show you different ways to make a selvage pouch or a pouch like this if you don't have the selvages. So I thought we would just kind of go through a couple of ideas, talk about different things, and you guys can leave comments down below with ideas you have, and that way as a group we can figure out different things to make that are similar to this pouch. But what happens if we don't have salvages or we really don't like this look? Because a lot of us are just starting to save our salvages and we really weren't aware of what we can do with them. But the more I play with them, the more I'm amazed at the different things you can do with salvages, and it has a really fun look to it. So this is a diagonal pouch that I made for my patrons last week, but I want to show you a simple way to make a salvage pouch if you haven't been saving salvages. Boom, salvage fabric. How cool is that? I believe this is a timeless treasure because as I'm looking at all of these different strips, all different ones have timeless treasures of their, I'm going to guess that these are different fabric lines of theirs. I've come to realize that I really like timeless treasures fabrics. They have the different novelty fabrics that I fall in love with. When I look at the little salvage, I'm like, oh, timeless treasures, of course. They have the bright colors that I like. They have a lot of their fabrics are on a black background, and I just love the way the different fabrics pop. So I don't know if you could still find this. I did a little bit of searching. I saw some on eBay and some on Etsy. I remember this came out several years ago. This salvage fabric does have selvages also. Let's see what it says down here. I don't have any salvage with the date because the salvage was already cut off from the person that sent this to me, and that is perfectly fine. But I'm sure this has been a few years back. It's probably even further back than I realize. But you can just go ahead and cut out little pouches out of this, and you wouldn't even have to go through the hassle of, well, it's not really a hassle. I enjoy the process, but you wouldn't have to worry about saving your salvages, collecting them, getting the right length, and getting them down. This is, I believe it's called, somewhere along the lines it has the words timeless treasures, salvage, and bias. And which order they're in, I don't remember. I looked around and everyone kind of lists things differently. But you might be able to find this still. So I thought this was going to make some really fun pouches. I haven't gotten to use this yet. I am hoarding it a little bit, and I want to make sure that either I want to make some smaller project bags like the sock bags, or something larger, or some coin purses. I could probably get a lot of different projects out of this amount of fabric. So I'm just going to sit on it for a little bit and decide what I want to make. This would make, could you imagine wearing this like as a skirt or something? This would be really fun. Now, in preparation for making this video today, a lot of times prior to, I usually film on Wednesdays or Thursdays for my Friday video, and during the week prior to that I like to play around with some ideas to see if it's going to work before I actually show it to you. So I thought, oh, well, maybe if you don't have salvages, you might want to just use some quilt as you go, and you might want to just lay your fabric down and do it that way. Or what if you have some really fun ribbons or any other type of things you could add on to it. Now I have some ribbons. That's another one of the things I like to collect. I have a lot because I have this tub full. Once again, it's one of these tubs with the little stair light with the plastic lids that snap on. I love it. I am outgrowing it. I just have some basic ones that you pick up at the store when they have their Halloween ones and the Christmas and things like that. I don't have anything too fancy, but I do have this. I found this at the Dollar Tree. I thought this was really pretty. It looks like crocheted lace, which would be crazy if someone could actually crochet a ribbon like this. It's really, really tiny. I'm not sure how they made this, but it's fun. So I picked up a few rolls of these. I thought this would be a nice accent to put on a fabric postcard or a card or something like that. So you could use your ribbons. And I cut out some cotton batting and just some white fabric because I was going to go ahead and put the ribbons right on top of here. So I was thinking that if I didn't get the ribbons sewn on just right, or they didn't overlap, or I just wanted to not have them right on top of each other, having a base fabric down first would be good. And I was thinking just a little coin pouch or notions pouch, just a little something small for the ribbons. But then as I got to playing a little bit, this got set aside because my ribbons are okay. And I have nice ribbons, but they weren't like, ooh, look at those. So I decided, let me play with something else. But that is an option for you. You can just, I would just lay the ribbons down just like the selvages and just stitch along each side of it, and then either tuck your other ribbon down just 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch just under the first one, or if you just, like I said, leave a base fabric, you can just leave a little bit of a space. If you have, let's say you're doing Christmas ones and you want to put a red fabric down and then have all your different ribbons on top, then you wouldn't have to worry about anything showing through. If you were doing all Halloween ones, you might not want to do white because that would just pop through a lot of the dark black and orange and green, but that might be the look you're going for. So I thought that was fun. You can either put this down, and I just used some glue stick. I just put a little glue stick on the back of my fabric, and then I went and pressed it really well, and that kind of makes the glue stick melt into the batting. I haven't had a problem with it before. Some people don't like to use glue sticks, so you can either pin this down, just lay it down because cotton batting will hold on to the cotton fabric. You can pin it down, you can put the little clips, or you can use some type of fusible to hold it in place. Whichever is going to work for you and how you like to sew. I wouldn't want to say you have to use glue because you don't. There are other options. So I thought we could do it with fabric as a quilt as you go. I just happened to grab fabrics out of my my 1.5 inch strip bin, because once again it's a small one and it's just a scrappy little spot for, I can turn this into a coaster. I could also still turn it into a zip pouch. I can just use it for anything. I can put things on top or leave it plain. And I didn't coordinate my fabrics because I just wanted to play with it to see how it turned out. And what I did with this is as simple as quilt as you go. You lay one piece of fabric down here. You take your next piece and lay it down right sides together. You stitch your 1/4 of an inch and you fold it up. It's just like when we make our string blocks. It's the same process. We're just starting at one end and working our way up. Or when we do the quilted table runners and such like that, it's the same process. You're just working on a small pouch. And I thought sometimes like these fabrics might be just a little bit too much. They're a little bit wide. But if you took your scraps and you made them small like this, like we did on this project, and then put them on your bag, that could be really fun. You can have a solid fabric down here and put all your scraps going this way or diagonally like I did in this pouch, and I think that would work out really nice. So there's a lot of things you can do, but what I started playing with was some Halloween stuff, because Halloween's right around the corner, right? I thought, okay, I'm going to make some fun pouches, but then as I got going I thought, well, maybe I'm making more of a fabric postcard than a pouch. So this is the one I started with. I started with the plain piece of yellow fabric on my cotton batting. Once again, I did the glue stick and I hit it with the hot iron so it melts the glue away and yet it holds all the fibers together. Then I started taking my strips of 1.5 inch fabric, and I did not do anything. These are definitely a raw seam. I did the raw edge applique. I just stitched down 1/8 of an inch from either side, and then I just started laying my fabric down. So I thought, oh, well, that's kind of fun. I like the look of the oranges and the purples against the yellow because it's very Halloweeny and pumpkiny, right? But I do have some Halloween ribbons, so let me play with that. I just took a couple strips of the ribbons and I laid them down this way. It's the same process, 1/8 of an inch from the edge. I think this ribbon even might have a possibly of a wire in it. It felt very stiff on the edges. Maybe not, but I just went past that little spot where it felt like there could have been a wire, and I stitched 1/8 of an inch on each side, add a little fabric to this corner, and then the fun accent. Once again, my favorite place to shop was the Dollar Tree in their floral garden, their little floral section. It's for scrapbooks, gift bows, crafts and decorating. They had the sequins on a rope, sequin ribbon, however you want to look at it. This is 9 feet for $1, so I thought that was a really good deal. I have it in black and green. I just bought it because I thought it could be fun for fabric postcards, so let me just bring it home and we'll see. For just a couple dollars that I spent, I can make a lot of crafts out of 9 feet. So what I did with these is, I've never used sequins on a sequin ribbon before. I think it's just going to call it sequin ribbon. I laid it down. There is a right side and a wrong side to this. You can see how they all lay this way, but if you flip it over, you can see the string on the back. And I didn't want to have it going that way with the string, so I wanted to have it right sides up. I just laid it down and I started out a little bit past my piece and I just stitched right through the center. I didn't always hit the center, I didn't always hit the holes, And I just worked my way all the way around, twisting and turning until I got to the other side, and then I clipped it off. I thought that was really fun because the sequins are very flexible and they're on a string, so of course they're going to move. And I was able just to move them, and you're basically, I'm stitching it down, but it's kind of a form of couching, even though you're not going across like this. You're just stitching straight down the center. I would still consider it, because you're putting something on top of something else with sewing it down. I'm going to still consider it couching, however you want to look at it. It was just so easy just to lay it down and snake it and move it as I was going. I did the black one first. I thought, well, that was fun. So then I went ahead and put the green one on top, and definitely fun. So I really like the way this turned out. It's really kind of fun. It would even be fun to do it in a larger version on, say, a art quilt. Maybe just not that huge. Stay within the... I like to think of art quilts in the 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of printer paper that we have here in America, that I like to kind of just think of it about that size, maybe a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, just definitely below the 12 by 12. I like more of a rectangle look, and that 8.5 by 11, it's something we're used to seeing all the time in our paper, so it's really attractive to my eye. My eye is drawn to that size. So I think this would be really fun to just do, or to let some of your older children, and I'm sure even the younger children, can help you lay it out and then you just stitch it down. So that's a good fun project. If you are doing it with smaller children and you don't really sew, or you don't want to deal with that, you can glue it down. You can just use some liquid Elmer's glue or the glue stick and just glue it down. They're just going to play with it, have fun, and it's probably going to end up being tossed. But if you want to have it more permanent, then you have the options of gluing it down or using some type of a fusible. Now, there is a fusible product that comes on a little roll that's really thin. I think they have it like 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, an inch. I want to say it's from Heat and Bond. I know my grandmother used to use it to hem pants, so that way she didn't have to use a sewing machine. She would just iron that on, and when it came out of the washer after 10 or 12 uses, if the hem started coming down, she'd just go ahead and iron it down again. But it's really nice to use for the ribbons. And I know some of the stores like Joann's and such have bias tape that is fusible, so you already have that option. It's already on there, and it's just something to play with. You don't need to purchase a lot of anything. You can go, a lot of us have a decent supply of craft supplies. Just go in there and see what you have for fun. Add some beads. Even if the beads are still in the string, you can couch them down like I did with the sequins. Now this one is my favorite, so yeah, this one I really like. I'll probably turn this into, it could be a mug rug. It's still even flat with the sequins, but I might want to see if it'll fit into the size guidelines for a fabric postcard. So then I moved on to a different thought, and I was just sitting around playing with the fabric. As I said, this is such a small project that if you don't like what you did, it's easy to just toss it, because you really only used stuff in your scrap bin anyways, right? So if you're not making anything with it, just go ahead and play with it. I also had some tulle around the house, so I thought I'd try something different. Now this one is okay, but this one doesn't make me smile as much as this one. I like the randomness and just the way this one went down. What got me here is I started laying my fabric down like this, and I thought I'd try, instead of having it either line up or go zigzaggy, I thought I'd just go all on the diagonal, and I think that's what's thrown me, that I don't really like. And then I had these rolls of tulle that I bought at Joann's, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. But it was one of those Halloween things, so I had green and purple and orange, so I thought I'd play with those a little bit. And the tulle comes on rolls that look like this. At least this is the ones I bought. It was only a couple dollars per roll, so I thought I'd do something fun with these. At the time, I was leaning towards making some purses for ballerinas with the little tutus. How you could put the tulle and scrunch it all up along the top of your bag, and then you put little ballet shoes down at the bottom and make a really cute bag that way. So I never really did those because, I don't know, I bought Halloween colors, I guess, and I just moved on to something else. But I've always had these in the stash, so I thought, well, I'm going to bring these out. I have some other ideas for these, and it won't really matter what the colors are, but that's more for art quilts, which basically that's what we're working on today. So I just took it, and I figured out how long I wanted, where I just took a piece like this, and I just kind of folded it up onto itself like this, so that the raw edges weren't sticking out. These don't really fray as far as I know, plus it's going to be stitched down. And then I just, for these over here, I just took my sewing machine and I stitched straight down on the center and then just trimmed off any extra. For these, I folded them in half or quarters or however, so it was nice and neatly folded, and that way I can run my sequins down the center. I tried a zigzag on the edge of this one, and then these I just straight stitched down. This one I just went ahead and I straight stitched straight down the center, and then I twisted it over and I stitched it on the side, so that just hold it down. This one is just straight stitched down the center. So I thought that was really fun. This is some black ribbon that I have that has, it's one of those glittery ones that if you touch it too much like that, little bits of it come off. So I've had sequins and glitter stuck all over my craft room this week, but I thought that was a fun way to make some of these pouches. So now you know a little bit of the way my mind works. I started out with this and I thought, well, let me show them something different, which then progressed to this quilt as you go. I thought, well, that would be kind of nice if you had some of your favorite fabrics that were coordinating. My invisible ribbons that never actually made it down onto here, so I might still do this just to see what it looks like. But I think this would look really fun. Like if you're going to maybe make them for like cheerleaders, if you have a cheerleader or a football star or whatever sport or anything like that, if you got the ribbons that matched for what they're doing. I know there's a lot of ribbons out there for the people that make hair bows and stuff like that, so you can find a lot of things that are going to match. I know I've seen a lot of cheerleader ones. You can always put those down here, whether you stitch them all in a row or just go crazy like I did with this one. You have that option, and then that progressed into this. It's always fun to just sit and play in the craft room and see what you can come up with. So leave a comment down below if you have a fun way to make a different type of zipper pouch, something different for people to decorate. You could always, every time I open my mouth and I start thinking and talking, I'm like, well, you can add buttons all over one too if you don't have it. You could take one of these small ones and add a variety of buttons. They always have fun things like that. You could put applique down. There is just loads of things. If you can imagine it, you can turn it into a little zipper pouch. So even though we didn't actually create anything today, I hope you had a little bit of fun in seeing my creative process and how I test things out in the craft room and how I go from thing to thing. And yeah, it's a rabbit hole. I get lost, but it's fun. I had a very enjoyable day, and when I walked away from the sewing machine yesterday, I was smiling because it was a happy day. I had fun. And I've said that about 12 times, but I did have fun. So grab out some of those supplies that you've had just sitting around in your craft room and you weren't sure what to do with it. Just stick it onto some fabric and batting and either create a fabric postcard or some type of a zipper pouch. So remember, always create with Scraptitude, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!